A judge slaps down how Colorado's governor cooperated with ICE, says it violates state law. We witnessed what happened when an Xcel Energy customer dared opt out of the new smart meters that report your power usage in real time.
They sent us out either to change the meter or to shut your power off.
Critics start to emerge over the governor's $29 million pedestrian bridge to nowhere.
I think he's just reaching for a reason to try and get support to get it done. It feels very cynical.
And a neighborhood not exactly known for being bike-friendly was determined to be part of Bike to Work Day. Look both ways, because this is next. Tonight, criticism is growing for Democratic Governor Jared Polis's plan to build a $28.5 million pedestrian bridge project on the front lawn of the state capitol. Full disclosure, last night here on Next, we devoted an entire block to an extended commentary on that project's history and its funding, and why I believe the bridge will become a monument to government waste.
You're cutting education, you're cutting Medicaid provider rates, you're cutting money to neglected and abused children, you're cutting money to rural health care, yet you want to fund a bridge? That just doesn't make sense to me.
State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer is the lead Republican on budget issues at the Capitol. She says legislators turned down a $5 million request from Democratic Governor Jared Polis for his bridge project this year, and they're looking at another tight budget next year.
I don't know why we're rushing and pushing this through. And just so that the governor can put his name on a bridge, I guess, and have a legacy. I don't understand that at all.
It just feels very disingenuous and exploitative.
Democratic former state rep David Ortiz doesn't buy the governor's office saying the bridge will improve wheelchair access.
I think he's just reaching for a reason to try and get support to get it done. It feels very cynical.
It is misguided and a poor use of funds that could be allocated to much better projects.
Jill Locantori leads Denver Streets Partnership, which works to improve pedestrian safety. Another cited reason for the bridge project, according to the governor's office.
I have not heard of a single pedestrian or bike safety advocate who supports the idea of building a bridge over Lincoln or Broadway downtown.
As more critics of the project emerge, former Representative Ortiz says he knows why some city and state leaders may be afraid to challenge the governor and the wealthy donors behind the project.
It's because they don't know when they're going to need, say, the gov later or that administration's support later. And so they're hesitant to speak out against something that they know is a waste of money, that they know is wrong, because they don't want to then incur that ire later when they might need the gov or might need his wealthy friends or might need the support later. That is what my experience has been. And it's unfortunate because we need more public servants and less self-servants.
As the governor's office tries to line up funding for this project, it must also get approval from the Capitol Building Advisory Committee. It governs stuff that goes on Capitol grounds. If you'd like to see our extended commentary on the project, you can find it in video or text form on 9news.com. You can watch it on the Next YouTube channel. A judge ruled just minutes ago in Denver that Governor Jared Polis cannot force certain state employees to turn over information to immigration agents. But the judge also said he can't stop the governor from working with willing state employees to find that information sought by ICE. State employee named Scott Moss sued the governor to stop the state from giving immigration agents the contact and employment information on dozens of people who have agreed to care for minors without lawful status in the U.S. Moss argued that state law prevents state and local governments from sharing personally identifying information with ICE unless there's a court-issued subpoena, or if withholding the information would interfere with a criminal investigation. According to a subpoena signed by a Homeland Security agent, not a judge, ICE wants the information to ensure that the kids aren't in danger or subject to human trafficking. So the governor ordered state employees to comply with the order, said he considers it to be part of a criminal investigation. Judge just ruled that turning over the information likely violates state law, and that Moss and his employees could face penalties for cooperating with ICE. The judge is crucially not blocking the governor from finding another way to give ICE the information, in part because the judge says it's not clear just what the governor wants to turn over. The man accused of firebombing a crowd of Jewish people in Boulder now faces federal hate crime charges. The new indictment handed down by a grand jury yesterday charges Mohammed Suleiman with 9 hate crime acts and 3 explosives charges. Investigators say he confessed to wanting to, quote, kill all Zionist people. He also faces dozens of state charges, including attempted murder that could put him away for life. So you're supposed to be able to opt out of those Xcel Energy smart meters, the ones that allow the company to track your electricity usage in real time. A customer in Aurora reached out to our Marshall Zellinger when he was faced with the choice to either accept Xcel's monitoring or have his power shut off.
The knock on the door at Bob's Aurora home was not welcome.
Hi, my name's with Xcel Energy. This is and we've got a work order. They've been trying to change your electric meter.
I've told him I don't want it. I get it. He's doing his job.
Bob is not upset with the Xcel contractor at the door, but he's not very happy with what he was told.
And this may shock you. They sent us out either to change the meter or to shut your power off.
It was take it or you get your power shut off.
He does not want a smart meter, and Bob conveyed that in a text message to an Xcel contractor at the end of May.
We will be out to upgrade your electric meter to the new smart meter tomorrow. I replied, no, I refuse.
Except you cannot refuse a new meter. You can opt out of a smart meter and instead get a non-communicating one that does not transmit your electric use in real time. And as Bob was told in the text message, that comes with an almost $12 monthly fee because Xcel still needs to drive by your home to read it.
So there was a lot of miscommunication with Xcel Energy. Okay. They used the word opt-out, which they never should have used, because when somebody says opt-out, it means I'm not participating at all.
The contractor is correct. Old meters need to be swapped out, even if a customer does not want a smart meter. That's separate from opting out of time of use rates, which Bob also does not like.
I want to do my dishes at 6 o'clock in the evening because I just had a nice dinner and I don't want them to sit there overnight to save $10.
Xcel told me the company reaches out to a customer a minimum of 7 times to swap a meter. The communication could be on your bill and by phone. Xcel said it reached out to Bob 10 times.
This is where they installed the new smart meter.
Bob chose the meter over the threat of no power, but the contractor installed a smart meter, not the one that comes with an extra fee that Bob was okay with.
I didn't want this. I still don't want it.
Was Bob really at risk of having his power shut off by a contractor who said this may come to you as a shock? Before your power gets shut off, you get several warnings, so that information should not be a shock. And Xcel told me that information would first come in a letter and that the contractor's comments have been addressed and there will be steps to further train personnel who do work on behalf of Xcel.
If an Xcel contractor ever says this may come as a shock to you, I'm not going to touch a metal object in my home for the next 2 days.
It's a fun pun.
So I think people are concerned, right, that if they sign up for one of these real-time usage monitoring meters, that someday Xcel is going to use it to limit their power during peak times.
Yeah, if you're using too much, it's part of the frequently asked questions on smart meters, and Xcel will not do that. You can sign up for a service that when they need to conserve power, you get a discount on your bill and they can tap in and lower what you're using. But no, like just having a smart meter should not do that. And that's part of their FAQs that says, nope, rest assured, that's not going to happen.
All right. Thank you to you, Marshall, and the meter that you ripped off of somebody's house. Thank you. Voters in the most conservative county in the metro area have overwhelmingly rejected Republican commissioners' push for more power there, as the DougCo commissioner leading the ballot measure blamed the Chinese Communist Party for leading an opposition group that's just headed by an Asian American woman in the community. Home rule in Douglas County was walloped last night, 71% of voters voting no. Commissioner George Teal blamed lies for their defeat, in addition to his unsupported claim about Chinese communist meddling in Douglas County. Teal has said that they will keep making DougCo residents vote on this issue in future elections. Federal government has announced that it is ending its LGBTQ suicide prevention service, stripping out that part of the 988 suicide prevention hotline. It existed in the first place because of the recognition that the LGBTQ community has particular mental health challenges, specifically around discrimination and family rejection. But you should know that specialized work continues in Colorado. And that is why this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports the nonprofit Envision You. Their team works to support the mental health of the LGBTQ community across Colorado with the goal of closing the gaps, the disparities that often mean worse outcomes for LGBTQ Coloradans compared to their neighbors. Envision You helps to guide conversations about mental health and substance use in the LGBTQ community. They have a program for the families of LGBTQ youth to help the adults in those young people's lives, help them head off depression and anxiety and thoughts of suicide. And Envision You also helps to train mental health providers so that they are comfortable and confident working with anyone who comes in their door. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491. We'll send you the link to donate. Your 5 years of microgiving, raising $15 million in our state, proves how $5 donations add up. I'll never ask you to give if I don't, so I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us rolling. More than 5,000 of you are making a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info once, and your donations automatically split among all the nonprofits we feature, so you help everybody that we talk about. It's meant these recent microgiving campaigns have started with about $35,000 in donations. An amateur investigation of voter fraud is sending a Coloradan to prison for tampering with ballots.
We're not like downtown Denver, but I definitely started seeing a lot more people ride their bikes.
Neighborhood that was not built for bikes is slowly trying to roll into Bike to Work Day. We'll go there next. A former postal worker in Mesa County has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for intercepting ballots during the 2024 presidential election and attempting to commit voter fraud in order to see if you can commit voter fraud. See, if you're following this, she is now at the finding out stage of the process. First, you know. Former mail carrier Vicki Stewart, one on the left, was convicted on identity theft and forgery charges. Prosecutors say she and her friend there, Sally Maxton, conspired to test the system of voter signature verification. They say the mail carrier intercepted the ballots, her friend filled them out and signed them. Elections officials say Mesa County systems flagged 9 of the fraudulent ballots, 3 made it through and were counted. Ballots are separated from their identifying information when they're counted, so we don't know who those amateur election sleuths voted for. Maxton's due back in court next month for a plea and sentencing hearing.
A nice early summer day, partly sunny with comfortable temperatures in the mid-70s, tracking a round of thunderstorms that have basically dodged downtown Denver, but we've had some severe cells to the south. A lot of moisture is funneling northward into the state, fuel for thunderstorms that still have the potential to drop some hail, produce some damaging wind, and create some flooding. We've seen 1 to 2 inches of rain in areas like Colorado Springs and Calhoun, and I've been watching thunderstorms around Fort Collins and Greeley as the Greeley Stampede is underway. Still a chance we'll see a shower in Denver, but things are relatively calm right now and temperatures comfortable in the 70s. So we do have the wind that will be increasing out across the western slope, elevated fire danger, something we'll be talking about as we head into the weekend and we look at this warming and drying trend that will really kick off tomorrow. Temperatures will cool into the 60s around midnight. We'll warm tomorrow, sunshine in upper 80s for your Thursday, low to mid 90s for Friday, Saturday. Thunderstorms back in the forecast with cooler weather by next Monday.
Bike to Work Day's big doings downtown, less so in the far-flung neighborhoods, but they're trying. Our Angeline McCall has that.
Excuse us.
Some people don't need the extra encouragement of Bike to Work Day.
Oh yeah, it feels good.
This is just part of Leo Lopez's routine.
I try to bike almost every single day from home to my office.
He hopes he's part of the movement of more people riding in the Montbello community.
Yeah, I feel like we're still like in that introduction phase in a way. I know we're not we're not the same as some other communities in the city. You know, like we're not like downtown Denver.
It's part of why Montbello Organizing Committee decided to put on this event, encouraging people on Bike to Work Day.
We get to encourage folks and really point them and have a good time. So it's pretty exciting.
Chris Urias runs the bike library here, where people can rent e-bikes.
I actually have one.
Or if they need help with the one they already have.
I was coming to the store and I synced the bike. I saw the bike and I was kind of interested, so I walked up and they started talking to me.
I just came by to check out what's happening and also ride my bike. I don't get to ride it often.
Bernice Galvan won't pass up this opportunity.
Definitely there is quite a difference in our community. I feel like our community isn't as active as they'd like to be. Families to see one person to bike often and then they start getting into the groove of it as well with their families.
The people who already have a love of being on a bike, hoping it spreads throughout the neighborhood.
Yeah, I think we got it.
That Montbello e-bike program is available to folks who live in the area. They can set up an appointment, rent a bike for a few days at a time. A new micro museum spotlights Denver's key role in the history of the disability rights movement. Next. In 1978, a group of 19 people with disabilities put their bodies on the line to fight for their rights in Denver. They made change across America. Our Byron Reed explores how their story is being remembered in a new way.
And Colfax seems to be a common theme.
A picture can be a lesson in history.
Mike being a poet, he couldn't write, physically couldn't write. Staff wouldn't write his poetry down for him.
For Kurt Garrett,
so
it's part of a past he wants to keep up to date.
In America, there aren't too many other movements that were this big that made that much of a difference in people's lives, you know.
Garrett is the Disaster Preparedness Coordinator at Atlantis Community, Inc., a group that helps people with disabilities live independently. Today, he's on the front line in their Disability History and Culture Museum to raise awareness.
Isn't taught it in schools, and it's important for people to know our history and the changes, the way things were.
The museum is part of their office space. It features photos, newsletters, and artifacts from the disabilities rights movement that grew momentum here in Denver.
July 5th, 1978, referred to as the Gang of 19, and their names are up here. They were all wheelchair users. They went and basically chained themselves to the RTD buses at Colfax and Broadway.
The city of Denver had ordered a bunch of new buses but didn't make them accessible, and they didn't think that was right.
Brian Gruey is the group's executive director. He says the movement inspired changes nationwide.
In 1983, they formed ADAPT, which was, its long name was Atlantis ADAPT. And this organization really sort of led the charge to change not only the laws, but how Americans viewed people with disabilities.
Both Kurt and Brian hope the pictures on these walls tell the story of people who paved the way for others by having their voices heard.
I think just the pride of what America stands for all of us having an opportunity to be successful, to have fulfilling lives.
For Next.
And because of these people in this movement, we do.
I'm Byron Reed.
You get the last word around here. Your feedback next. So one of the gifts of what we have built here together on Next is that we are not powerless when discouraging things are in the news, because every news program is going to tell you what happened. We will also share how you can do something about it if you are so inclined. And part of that is your weekly Word of Thanks microgiving. When we heard the federal government was cutting LGBTQ services from the National Suicide Hotline, I immediately thought of the nonprofit Envision You here in Colorado. They do great work to improve mental health care for the LGBTQ community, finding the best ways to support them, training providers on the specific challenges of mental health care in that community, and especially helping adults be there for LGBTQ youth and their family. So scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me and a bunch of other folks in donating to Envision You. A note tonight from Maria and Sherry saying thank you for supporting Envision You with our monthly donations. Thank you for having the trust to give to Word of Thanks monthly, knowing that we will try our best to come up with nonprofits that will be excellent stewards of your donation dollars to do good in our community. Rodney in Fort Collins says, my wife loves your gray sport coat. She says I would look good in it. Does it come in a 40 regular? It's funny you mentioned that, Rodney. This is a 40 regular. Why don't you make a donation to Word of Thanks and send me a note about it? Maybe you can buy my coat off me. I'm not joking. See you next time.